Hello everybody, my name is Delta, and today we're doing a little bit of a reaction video. So we're going to be checking into something from Trope Talk. Well, it's actually not from Trope Talk, it's from Overly Sarcastic Productions, and this is a Trope Talk about The Last of Us. So, yeah. We'll see what the fuck we're getting into. For when it's not enough for your hero to be unique, they need to be really unique. Disclaimer, contains less than 10% actually the last of their kind. You know what? Do I have any of the last of your kinds things in my stories? I don't think I have many. I know I have at least one or two. I don't remember them, but I know I at least have some. They got me a dog tag necklace. Your favorite picture of us. Aww. That's fucking adorable as a gift to give. We say he's gonna take me out for Valentine's gift dinner. Aww. Y'all fucking not lonely people. Lovely for you.
When you're building a character for a story, the number one rule of thumb you'll generally hear is that they need to be immediately identifiable in some way, which means something about them needs to be unique to them among the rest of the characters. Artists will talk about silhouettes or avoiding same face syndrome. Writers will talk about speech patterns or accents to make it clear who's saying what in the.
Yeah, it's like, hey, what's up? And hey, hi, how do you do? Can you please help me out here? I don't know how to do. Yeah, man, I got you. I don't know what I'm gonna do today. Or, hey, give me all your money in your wallet. I'm gonna buy a Lamborghini with it and drive it into Fort Knox. Yeah, like you can do 1,000 things to make characters descriptive. Neat.
Dialogue, and of
Welcome
course,
in,
the
Astro.
bane of every character designer's existence is hearing, oh hey, that looks just like this other character from this.
Oh, fuck everyone who does this. But at the same time, I am that person because I had one fucking D&D player whose entire mechanic was just going, can I do the thing that the Flash does? Can I do the thing that Batman did? I'm like, you don't even come up with a new name for that hoe. You just slap the same shit on there and repeat.
Much more well-known thing. It's an odd little fallacy that afflicts artists of all
Zing.
stripes. This idea that a work of art must justify its
The
existence by
act of
being
murder.
entirely unique, whether that's an individual character or an entire world or story concept. Total uniqueness is an understandable, unreachable star for a creator to pursue, but it's not like how stories work. I mean, this is a series where we talk about tropes. Tropes are recurring patterns in storytelling that occur over and over again, frequently unintentionally on the part of the writer. Most people don't set out to build a story out of a bunch of pieces of other stories, and yet almost every story can be broken.
Well, arch nemesis dad, braving the blizzard. Big no secret test of character. Cruel twist ending. The reveal. Human popsicle. Wait, human popsicle? Belligerent sexual tension. Targeted to hurt the hero. Single biome planet.
Down into elements that aren't unique to that
Yeah,
story.
no,
And that
maybe
is
that
a
makes sense.
completely
Except for
fine
human
and
popsicle.
neutral thing.
What the fuck is
The
that one?
pursuit of originality at all costs can actually pressure writers.
We could pay off all of the setup and planting we're doing. Would that be cliché? Mystery, hidden agenda, destined rivalry, prophecy, chic. Oh, Chekhov's gun. So, I really like a lot of things. And I personally think One Piece is Chekhov's firing squad. And I think that's just what it is, okay? Chekhov's firing squad is One Piece. Because they've been putting so many fucking guns in the background, loading up a massive armory to the point that it's like, okay, why are you a Texan father in a bunker prepping for doomsday that just moved out from fucking Alabama and you have a moonshine equipment room? And that is One Piece with Chekhov's guns. They're just loaded up to Fort Knox, ready to blow the fuck out of everything with boiled cans of beans. And the beans are full of lore. Yeah!
to shy away from legitimately good writing decisions in the name of surprising their audience with something they've never seen before. Sometimes a part of storytelling happens a lot because it works, and sometimes you've never seen something before because it doesn't. But while it's not healthy to obsess over making your story totally distinct from every other story in the world, there is a legitimate benefit to making sure that elements of your own story don't repeat too often. Within the context of your own work, it can
Oh yeah, like you can do a very similar story to basically anything else. Kagurabachi, JJK. But let's be honest here. Actually, JJK is not a good example because that motherfucker just said, "I want to make the anti-shonen." And Naruto, One Piece. Yeah, they use definitely the same elements that Dragon Ball does, but at the same time, you look at them and you go, "Those are two different things." Yeah, because they do different shit with it.
be very helpful to
I
make sure
lost
that
the
individual
plan on
characters
what I was
don't share
saying.
too much in common with each other, or specific plot beats don't repeat too exactly. It's less important that your character doesn't look like anybody else's character, and more important that all your characters don't look the same as each other.
Sure, money can't buy happiness. Which better to cry in a Lamborghini than all alone. Majora, what the fuck? I'm sorry, where's the prompt for that one? I'm so lost in the. Were you typing that for a bit? Or is that just unprompted?
And this goes far beyond the visual design and cuts right to the core of characterization itself. The more distinct your characters are from each other, the more perspectives they'll have on the story they're in, the more different decisions they'll make at key points in the plot, the more things they can disagree on. And the more unique a character is in the context of the story, the more unique their arc can be from anybody else's. A character that is unique among their friends and allies gives the writer a
I'm a sheltered, optimistic idealist. I've been through a lot and have had a hard time trusting. I look at the big picture and choose the greater good. I'm baby. I like these fuckers.
completely different angle on the
Wait a damn second. Damn it. Sheltered, optimistic idealist. What was his name? Sword Boy from Aurora. And for those who don't know what Aurora is, Red has a comic that they're making, and it's really fucking good. It's fun. It's nice to read. But I have a lot of hard time trusting animal motherfucker. I forget their names. I just look at the pretty pictures and read the story, and I remember their names while reading it. I look at the big picture and choose the greater good. I don't know if this one fits any of the main cast immediately. And then I'm Baby doesn't feel like it's right. I feel like that would be a mix of Sword Boy into this one. But
story they're all sharing. And if you take this concept to its logical conclusion, attempting to create the most unique and individual character in an already diverse cast, you'll find a class of characters known as the last of their kind. The last of their kind are characters who, for one reason or another,
a character's origins, culture, species, etc. are unique, because they have become the only survivor. The Your Number One card was nice, but a little insensitive. Common uniqueness, appearance, language, strength, weakness, cultural practices, weapons, secret techniques, lost knowledge, and profound isolation.
are completely unique by virtue of the fact that everyone else like them is gone. In the real world, the last member of a soon-to-be extinct species is called an endling, which is just way too poignant to leave out of this conversation. An endling, the last of their kind, is the only one like them in the entire story, meaning everything that defines the people they come from becomes entirely unique to them. Culture, appearance, language, superpowers, homeland, special artifacts, bloodline techniques, they don't need to share them with anybody because there is nobody like them. Right? Oh, come on, don't do this. This should be the easiest thing in the world to define.
No one is
this
ever
is
the last
exactly what
one.
it says on the box. It's 5 words. A simple fact. The last of their kind. There is only one of them. That is the name of the trope, right? Well, as much as my love of dictionary definitions...
A cat that thinks there's nobody else like them, but there are not actually the only one. Sometimes I can still hear the voices. Bitch, we're over here. What the fuck? Wait, don't you hear us? We're still alive. We didn't die by the big laser. We were all teleported by the bright light.
Wish it were
Actually, fuck. It's just Whack Fu all over again. Hugo! We've all been trapped inside the Elia Cube!
True, this trope almost never actually adheres to the letter of the definition, at least not for long. A lot of characters are introduced
What
as
were
the
the
last
odds
or
of that
only one of their
stray black
kind,
hole hitting the only populated planet in your solar system? Pretty good, apparently.
and then in a sequel or a later installment or a reboot, it'll turn out that actually there
We
were a
were
few more
off-world,
kicking around
definitely
in
not
hiding or
doing
otherwise
privacy.
obscured from the plot, and our
Me
former
too.
last of their kind protagonist becomes one of a bunch. The main reason
This may surprise you, but I think about being alone a lot.
this is so common is very simple. If a main character is defined entirely by being the last of something, the primary conflict for their arc will most likely be centered around exploring that. Them being separated from their origins and isolated with nobody else like them anywhere can easily provide tension, tragedy, angst, mystery, and the incredibly obvious personal motivation of finding out more about themselves and their people. That can take a lot of different forms, but one of them is finding more people like them.
Guess it's gonna be an Italian date night. Majora, that's that's beautiful. Nice.
Many last of their kinds were separated from their people at a very young age and don't know anything about their origins when they start off, and the ones who become the last of their kind when they're older will probably be more determined to find other remnants of the world they knew. So while some characters who are the last of their kind will actually stay that way through to the end, the longer a story about these guys goes on, the more likely it is that it'll turn out that they're not actually the last, because one of the
I now want the story of someone who's the last of their kind, right? Old man, never understood what the hell his purpose in life was. He just managed to, for some reason, think, there's plenty of us. We're all gonna be here. I can reconnect with my family and all the people that I ever knew whenever I feel like it. Moves away, leaves for a good chunk of time, and when he comes back, there's nothing. No one knows who they were. No one remembers the nations, the cities. They're all gone. The entire continent he wants to call home is gone. He's just at sea, sailing through this now empty part of the map that doesn't exist anymore. Oh well, welcome to Lelouchia.
juiciest ways to explore a character's mysterious origin is to introduce
You're playing
more
a text
characters
adventure
who
game?
share
Nice.
that origin. This is a huge problem in long-form comics, which are already notorious for continuity snarls. For instance, Superman debuted in 1938 with the origin story that he was the last son of Krypton, the sole survivor of a total planetary apocalypse saved by his scientist parents Moses style in an intergalactic basket in the bulrushes. He was the only Kryptonian on Earth, and his power set, even though it drifted and changed over the years, came from his unique alien physiology and how it was affected by Earth's gravity and yellow sun. And as far as I can tell from my cursory research on the subject, Superman was the only surviving Kryptonian for 20 real years until 1958, when the bottle city of Kandor was introduced, a Kryptonian city that was shrunken and abducted en masse by Brainiac before the planet exploded. Its permanent shrunken state handily prevented it from doing much to undercut Superman's last son of Krypton thing, since it's not like a city's worth of Supermen popped out of the woodwork to make things complicated on Earth. But 1 year later, Supergirl was introduced, Superman's cousin, who also survived the planet going boom. And then in 1961, we started getting Kryptonian bad guys like General Zod. At this point, Superman is only the last son of Krypton because it makes for a killer subtitle. It hasn't been factually true in decades. Something similar happened in Dragon Ball, where for the first several arcs of the manga, it was never indicated that Goku was the last of anything. He was just weird, a super strong kid with a monkey tail. In a world with Triclopses, ageless psychic toddlers, shape-shifting pigmen, and talking animals, a weird kid with a tail didn't really raise any eyebrows until the Saiyan saga hit, and it turned out that Goku was an alien, one of only 4 survivors of the destruction of their home planet, soon to be 2 survivors, followed by a brief stint as the last remaining Saiyan when Vegeta winds up dead for a few extra long minutes during the final battle with Frieza. Non-canon and semi-canon movies like piling on more surviving Saiyans because it's a formula for a villain of the week, and as long as they die at the end, it doesn't really do much to the Earth-based status quo. So, what are we even talking about here?
A character whose people are all gone. A character whose people are not actually all gone, but they maybe think they are. A character who, at any point in their arc, thinks their people are all gone, regardless or if they're proven wrong. Yeah, this trope seems like ass. To define. Sounds cool because it's been done well and executed well for popular media, but it definitely would be a pain in the ass to define this.
here. We're trying to define a trope, and we've just cut ourselves off at the knees by saying the only definition that makes sense doesn't even apply to most of the iconic examples. What is the point of a character who's the last of their kind if it turns out they're not even the last of their kind? How does that define the character in any meaningful way? They're just a character at that point. Well, we can sort of finagle this. A character who is the last or only one of their kind only needs to believe this about themselves for a solid chunk of the story for this trope to manifest in the plot. A character who thinks they're the last or has been told.
Why does this keep happening? Because from the character's perspective, these scenarios are functionally identical. Am I alone in the universe? Am I alone? No, bitch! I'm here!
They're the last and refuses to believe it, has access to exactly the same space of characterization and subplots as a character who really is the last of their kind. They're isolated, alone. They may hold themselves responsible for single-handedly carrying on the legacy of their people, or they may know absolutely nothing about their people or even themselves. They might not have any context for who they are or where they came from, and uncovering that might be their primary motivation. Characters who are really the last of their kind can do this readily, but characters who only think or wonder if they're the last of their kind can be racked with just as much uncertainty and angst, maybe more, because they don't know for sure. Sometimes these characters spend the bulk of their personal arc searching for others like them, or trying to uncover their past, and in these contexts it makes sense that as part of their happy ending they'd run into more of their people and get the answers they've been seeking all along. By definition, this means they aren't really the last of their kind, but that doesn't really matter, because the entire point of the story still hinges on that question. Are they really the last, and if not, will they be able to find the others? One series that builds this up pretty organically is the Kung Fu Panda trilogy.
Yeah.
In the first movie, Po is the only panda we see, but this is never really addressed as anything too noteworthy. His dad is a goose and he's a bit of a fish out of water, but mostly he's just characterized as a kung fu fanboy in a world of actual badasses. Most of the Furious Five are also the only animals of their specific species that we see in the movie. Tigress is the only tiger, Mantis is the only bug, Viper is the only snake, etc. In fact, the only animals that we really see more than one of are basically the background extras, pig and bunny villagers and rhino prison guards. The fact that Po's the only panda doesn't stand out as weird. Then the sequel dives really heavily into this question of where Po came from, how he got adopted by a goose, and where his biological parents
Funny enough, I've never actually seen the third Kung Fu Panda movie.
into all this. The story eventually unpacks that the reason Po is the only panda we've ever seen is that the villain of Kung Fu Panda 2 did a full-on panda genocide to try and avert a prophecy of doom, and Po only survived because his mother sacrificed herself to save him. The emotional arc of Kung Fu Panda 2 is centered on Po unpacking his repressed memories and coming to terms with who he is, which he does in the burned-out remains of what was once his home. In the first movie, Po is just the only panda. In the sequel, Po is the last panda. Until the very last scene of the movie, when we get a glimpse of a hidden panda village and Po's father, which becomes the plot of Kung Fu Panda 3, confirming once and for all that Po is not the last panda. But the fact that he's got surviving family and a community by the end of 3 doesn't invalidate his last of his kind revelation in 2. In fact, it kind of does this interesting thing where there are a few points in Kung Fu Panda 3 where there are things that come naturally to the pandas of the hidden village that Po hears about and is like, oh, that makes perfect sense and it never occurred to me because I wasn't raised in a community of people that were like me. There's something kind of profound about the fact that Po was raised entirely separate from anybody else like him, and there's this strong arc in the first movie especially that Po kind of always feels like he's doing something wrong. And if you're in the audience and you're like neurodivergent or in other ways part of a community of people who mostly don't really think like you can sort of end up feeling like, oh, there's something to his experience of being the last/only one of people like him in this supportive community, at least after the first movie, of people who do like and care about him but don't really know what his like needs are and what things he would naturally be good at. Like in the first movie, Master Shifu has to do a lot of work to figure out how to properly train Po because Po is not like anybody else he's ever taught. And in the first movie, it's because Po is a big goofy panda kung fu fanboy who hasn't actually been training from like day one. But in the second movie, it kind of becomes clear that like, oh, Po is actually separated from his environment because he is different from everybody around him. And then in the third movie, we get a glimpse of people like him who like rolling around and eating food and appreciate the fact that he's big and squishy. So there is an interesting microcosm of the arc a character who is the last of their kind can go through just in this trilogy of movies, with Po experiencing alienation and isolation, being the only one of his kind but not really recognizing that, and then Po experiencing the delayed tragedy of understanding why and how he became separated from his people, and then Po experiencing this strange feeling of understanding and belonging for the first time in his life when he rejoins his family at the end of 3, without losing his found family that he gained over the last 2 movies, who do understand him in a different way that the people of his home village, who don't do martial arts, can't really understand. None of that was scripted. Apparently I I just had a lot of thoughts about Kung Fu Panda.
That wasn't scripted? Hey! Passion. Passion. We call that passion. Don't need anything but a script. No script needed. Just talk. Also, I'd be quiet because they're just talking. It's like, okay, there's a lot of jokes you can make when you have the pictures, moments, and just talking in between, like, them describing things. But when they're genuinely just going back and forth, giving out a detailed thing like that, it's like, shut up. Just shut the fuck up.
Okay, back on script. One of the most egregious examples of this kind of writing shenaniganery is probably The Last Unicorn. The protagonist and title character of the story starts off by hearing a pair of hunters saying that there are no other unicorns left, followed by a gorgeous musical number about how the last unicorn is beautiful and alone at the end of everything. And the first thing the unicorn does when the movie really gets going is say, well, that's not right, there's absolutely no way, I'm the last unicorn, and sets out into the world to find out what happened to the others, and she turns out to be 100% correct. And at the end of the story, all the other unicorns are released from their imprisonment in the ocean and sent back out into the world.
Excuse me, the fuck? I'm sorry, I was like, okay, they're doing their thing where they describe things. But unicorns in prison in the ocean? What the fuck is going on? What the hell? What the fuck y'all sipping on? What y'all using? What's this performance enhancing writing drug? What psychedelics are you using?
And at the end of the story, all the other unicorns are released from their imprisonment in the ocean and sent back out into the world. In no way, shape, or form is she the last unicorn. She at no point believes she is the last unicorn. She doesn't even spend some of the movie as a unicorn. But it makes a great title and a banging musical number, and it would have been much less poignant to call it The Last Unicorn in This Zip Code. The temporarily isolated unicorn. This town ain't big enough for 2 unicorns. But there's a good reason this keeps happening. From a character arc standpoint, there is no difference between a character who is a true endling and a character who only thinks they are. They have the same internal struggles, the same questions of identity. It's just a matter of what they find at the end of that part of their journey. There's another reason that characters who are the last of their kind frequently don't stay that way for long. If a character's primary strength in the narrative is how unique they are and how they have abilities that nobody else does, one of the simplest ways to provide an absolute gut drop of an antagonist is to pit them against somebody who has those exact same abilities. Maybe somebody who has those abilities and training in how to actually use them to their full potential. When a character has been defined by being completely unlike anyone else in the story, one of the scariest things they can be faced with is a level playing field. And it's always a fun oh shit moment when a character who's had an absolute superlative advantage in some specific ability, like just being better than all
Jenga, Ryuga, episode 13.
their allies at raw strength or weapons training or magic talent, turns out to be average at best by the standards of their people and gets absolutely stomped at their one thing by someone who's legitimately impressive by the standards of the greater community. And this can be impactful even if the surprise villainous other character doesn't herald a dramatic expansion of the cast with just kidding, not the last after all. Sometimes it's more impactful if it's just the 2 of them and one of the only 2 survivors is evil. This applies even in stories where there wasn't ever a larger community that got whittled down. Like in Star Trek The Next Generation, Data is introduced as an entirely unique type of android, an existence that quietly puts him through profound alienation.
Why does this remind me of that one fucking webtoon? It's the one where they're assassins in high school. And no, mercenaries. They were mercenaries. Dude went to high school. There was 100 other fucking people. I didn't finish it, and I'm kind of am bummed that I haven't finished it yet. I should catch up. But pretty good. Can't remember the name, but I remember that there was only so many. It was like, okay, how many of the people are left? 10 or 11, something like that, right? And every time we whittle it down, we're like, oh, so our protagonist is number 1. They are of the very few that are still alive. And one of the biggest gut wrenching punches was that I think he killed like the bottom 40 of the numbers. Like he just took out half of them. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. But after that, I was like, okay, what is number 2? Because even if number 1 is this badass, a person who's directly underneath him has to be a monster. And what sold him on being a monster was showing us that number 7 could basically scratch and hurt number 1. So we're like, hold up. If 7 can harm 1, what the hell can 2 do?
as nobody else in the universe works quite like he does. Then it turns
Sorry,
out
I
he
just had
has
a
a
random
brother,
tangent.
Lore, an identical android and the only other thing in the universe like him, ignoring the various other Soong-type androids that eventually get shaken out of the canon. But Lore is evil, or at least racked with profound daddy issues, and what makes this difficult is that Lore is the only other person in the universe that understands Data, and he uses this understanding to manipulate him. It's hard when your only choices are total isolation or enable a guy who keeps murdering people. This appears to be a weirdly common thing in sci-fi because they did the exact same thing in Doctor Who. Doctor Who back in the day introduced the Time Lords as the species of alien that the Doctor was one of. They were super advanced masters of time that the Doctor didn't really get along with, having stolen his time machine and ran away from all their rules and regulations. One recurring renegade Time Lord was the villainous The Master, a flamboyant schemer that seems to have been one of the most fun things about classic Doctor Who. I haven't watched as much of it as I probably could have, because I got into it when Doctor Who came back with the new series, starting with the 9th Doctor. And after a little bit of foreshadowing and teasing and hints of some kind of great war, he explained that he was the last Time Lord, and it became clear that something terrible had happened off screen. A time war, seemingly waged outside of normal space-time in a manner so cataclysmic that it destroyed the time.
Wait, what the fuck did you say, Astro? And we shall know because Dell haven't finished that webtoon. Eh. Nah.
Lords and the Daleks utterly, which is convenient because when it comes to tragic backstories, time travel.
Last time I was reading it, I believe was last September. Oh, we shall never know. Yeah. Well, I'll pick it up again. I tend to pick things up, binge read about 40 chapters in a day, and then leave them for a few months. That's how I treat webtoon. I binge read really fucking quickly, and then I leave them for a few months, and then come back and binge read them.
Travelers kind of have an automatic nuh-uh if they want to just time travel back to before everything exploded for a little pre-trauma vacation time. The Time War was so catastrophic that it kind of unmade the Time Lords in such a profound way that there didn't seem to be any going back until they did go back in a later season after I stopped watching. Continuity. Anyway, this resulted in a deeply traumatized Doctor as the only survivor of the Time Lord side, the very last of his people. Except just kidding, of course the Master is also there. And this is played for all the drama you could want, including, eventually, the Master actively choosing not to use his get out of death free card so he can die in the Doctor's arms just to spite his constant attempts to make him stop murdering quite so much. Obviously that didn't last either, the Master is too popular to let die, but at this point that's not even a blip on the radar. For some stories,
I actually like that to be really funny as hell. Like, the idea of a person who's like, I was the only one, find out that there's someone else. He's like, please, turn to the good side. I want to have friends, communion, and people that I love and cherish. And now, I think I'm gonna kill myself. Just to spite you. Just so that you have to deal with the trauma of knowing that I am one of the last. And I was evil to the end. Yeah. Also, welcome back, local.
continuity is the only true enemy. This specific flavor of antagonist,
And
another
the silence of loneliness was bad. You are so picky!
survivor of our hero's nearly extinct group, but so evil that they really test our hero's patience and or moral code, can also play into a different and profound character arc. Intrinsic in this kind of story, where a character separated from their people of origin struggles to find their place in the world, is a very fundamental question.
Wait a second. Oh, yeah, this is... Wait a damn second. I just realized one of the earliest examples of it. Something from fucking Disney XD. Max Steel. Does anyone remember fucking Steel thinking he was legit the original? He thought he was the only one. Only to realize that the elementals were of his own people. And that they were of a much larger group. And even at some point he was like, do I even side with these humans? What is the purpose of this? Max Steel is a legit example of this.
Or are they the people who love them now? A character who is the
God, all the Disney XD shows. Lab Rats, Mighty Med. Actually, what else was there? I mean, I remember Austin Alley, but I don't think that counts. Right? Sweet Life on Deck, Jesse. What else was there? I do think it's absurd how all of the live action like sitcom shows on Disney were in one universe because of the like slight cameo episodes between certain things. All of them were in one universe, which means that Mighty Med is canon in Jesse. Wizard of Waverly Place. Oh, we brought back a good one. That's a good one to talk about. Wizard of Waverly Place. That's a damn good series. I'm gonna be honest with you. I still remember the fucking 13th floor.
The last of their kind usually doesn't go through the story alone.
I never got to see the finale though. Funny enough, um, that was back during my what's the word? So a large majority of my life, I've always been a person that will read, watch, or experience something until the very last one and never finish it. I've changed this now, but there's a lot of things that I started, made it to the literal beginning of the end, and it was just like, before this next arc starts, I'll just cut it there.
In order to highlight their unique traits, they'll contrast with other main characters who are very different from them. In this contrast, there is frequently conflict, misunderstandings or miscommunications, things that come naturally to the others that don't click with the loner, or vice versa. Part of what likely drives them to seek others like themselves is that feeling of alienation that comes with being surrounded by people who like them, but on some level will never quite understand them. But if they find people who are like them and can understand them, and despite those similarities they then don't get along, it can raise some uncomfortable questions about belonging and being understood, and whether this character is doomed to be, on some level, alone forever. This opens up a very interesting space of character conflict, where the character who formerly believed they were the last of their kind might need to decide whether they're willing to compromise their principles in order to stop being the last of their kind and be with people who are like them, or if they can't accept their people at all and instead need to choose to remain a stranger in a strange land, separate from the people they have the most in common with, often
So,
people they've been searching for.
So I'm just thinking, right? Oh, I don't like the fact that the rest of my people are evil, but I found my people. But they're really nice to me. They just are evil as shit. I must do what must be done. Zoom. Executing order 69. Dun 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 dun. Dun dun dun, child murder, dun dun dun, he's the last, he's the last, dun dun dun. I'm sorry. What's it good? What's it good? Dun dun dun, Itachi sounds, ghetto sounds from J to K. Genocide away. Anyways.
Or for the entire series, but together with the people they've slowly grown closer to whose principles they actually agree with. A real found family versus biological family kind of conflict. And this is a conflict that really can't fully play out unless the last of their kind is presented with the option of reuniting with their people, which basically means they can't actually stay as the last of their kind for the whole run of the plot. You can't do this specific brand of angst with a character who's truly the last of their kind. They need both options in order to fully explore where they stand. But while
No, there is one way I could imagine it. There's an afterlife. This person can choose between living or dying. Come join your people. This afterlife only lasts for as long as a few days. Cross to the other side and join us. If not, the portal will close and you will be forever locked on the other side. Well, I guess I choose to live. Yeah.
these are very interesting angles to explore, not every character who's the last of their kind goes through these arcs. Some of them are well and truly isolated for the entire run of their story. Sometimes last really does mean last. And these characters really let the tragedy of this trope show. Because for all I've said that the character arcs start the same whether or not the character is truly the last of their kind, they diverge very strongly when the character receives confirmation that there aren't any others. Some characters know this for a fact from the very beginning and have time to grieve or come to terms with it, but other characters learn over the course of the story that there isn't anyone like them.
I think the Owl House is a masterpiece that was robbed of greatness by greed. Because the entire time I watched those second and third seasons, right? all I could think to myself was, I can see how this would have been paced if it had been dragged for better and longer episodes for more fulfilling moments. There are so many times where you could legitimately see moments in the Owl House and think to yourself, this would have been a great full episode. This would have been a cool topic to bring on. And it hurts to look at this shit and make me go, I want to see the executives who thought that this was a good idea to fucking close it off, and I want to just reach out kindly and gently with my hand, all four fingers open, my thumb straightened. I slap him upside the head. Dude, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Them out there. When they receive absolute proof that they're alone in the universe, it changes their place in it. And more importantly, this can either rip away their core motivation, or it can replace it with something new. Whatever happens, it can't leave them unchanged, because it represents a profound loss of.
I'm surprised we haven't brought up Aang. Like, legitimately, I'm surprised we haven't got Aang so far throughout this video. Like, no moments of Avatar: The Last Airbender? Because, unironically, despite the fact that it was changed later, he is, like, a poster child for this trope. And he is the I am the end. There are no more airbenders. He made more because he had Riz and actually got, kids. But the man was the end.
Hope. This character is no longer.
Imagine homosexual Aang. There never would be another Air Nation. If Aang was gay, there never would have been another Air Nation. it would have been done.
Searching for their people because they know unquestioningly that search is pointless. The world may be big and full of potential and wonderful, interesting people, but none of those people are the people they want to find. A character who is the last has a lot of decisions to make. They represent the totality of their people. If there's some kind of responsibility those people shared, it's now totally on them to keep it going. And if there's some principle they valued, the endling needs to decide how to uphold it. And I think I've been commended.
Hey! I called that shit. Yes! Yes! I'm on my point. I'm on my bullshit. Yes. Fuck yes.
Patient and waiting this long to bring up
Yes.
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, I'm on my bullshit.
It's central to the entire plot. It's literally in the I promise I've watched more shows than just this one. Now, of course, Avatar: The Last Airbender is exactly what it says.
I feel so happy right now. I'm on my bullshit. Della's on a roll today. I just got off work, decided to stream, decided to do a couple reaction videos, and today has been. This is good. I ain't no Christian, but the Lord is good. I don't give a damn if it's Buddha, Yahweh, or whoever the fuck is speaking around. What? Thanks, bitch.
Aang, the Avatar, is the last of the air nomads. A fact he categorically does not believe for the first couple episodes. Sure, he got frozen in an iceberg for a little while, but when he ran away, there were tons of air nomads, and the threat of war was just a distant fire on the horizon. Nothing more than a reason for the air nomad elders to rip away Aang's childhood as quickly as possible to get the Avatar ready for war. Everyone keeps telling him that nobody's seen an airbender in a full 100 years, but that doesn't prove anything. There could be tons of explanations. Maybe they're all just hiding. Aang is 12 years old, and from his
Hey,
perspective,
Haven. How you doing?
A few days. Even if intellectually he might know that something is probably wrong, emotionally he cannot possibly have processed that at this point. So they kick off the third episode of the show with Aang excitedly telling Katara he can't wait to show her his home, the Southern Air Temple. Katara is more cautious about the whole thing, in large part because Aang is so enthusiastic and happy. It doesn't really seem to have occurred to him that things could have actually gotten bad. So she keeps trying to prepare him for the worst, but he keeps justifying why there's definitely nothing to worry about. There's no way the firebenders could have even reached the temple. Sure, he's heard that the Fire Nation has killed a lot of people, but it's not really real to him yet. Aang has a brief flash of ennui when they reach the Air Temple, and he notices how there's nobody around, no people, no animals, etc., etc. But Sokka quickly distracts him, and his sunny attitude bounces back immediately.
Yeah, they're all gone. They had to leave. Sure, the Fire Nation attacked, but there must have been at least a few that escaped, right? They had to have ran and hid. Like, one or two of them are definitely out there at least. At least, right? There's gotta be at least a few. A few! Come on, there's no way that there's... Anyways, yeah, no, they did. Dead as hell. Dead as my grandfather.
Episode, especially on a rewatch. The Air Temple is perfectly preserved, it's just deserted and lifeless compared to Aang's vibrant flashbacks. It doesn't look particularly burned or scarred or damaged, and any signs of war are pretty easily concealed, but it's completely empty. Katara and Sokka learn very early that firebenders made it up there after all, and if the airbenders were in any fit state after that, they probably would have cleaned up a little bit. Aang is happy and enthusiastic and
It was 100 years.
laughing, and Sokka and Katara are trying to spare him from the pain of revelation that they know is coming. They can't protect him from the horror. The horror has already happened. Every bit of comic relief and whimsy just feels like setup for the moment it all comes crashing down. And when that inevitably happens, Aang is so overwhelmed with horror and grief that he immediately loses himself to the Avatar state. Sokka and Katara manage to bring him back out of it, and by the end of the episode he's cheerful and laughing again, but it's clearly a little bit of an act this time, and he remains consistently very protective of the last remnants of air nomad culture, and very upset when they're threatened, both by antagonists like the bad guys that.
So, it's really funny if we're speaking about Aang today, right? There's a certain thing I want to show everyone. Just give me a little bit to find it. It won't take me long, hopefully. Bitch, where the fuck you at? There you go. I'm scrolling down. So unless you're King Boomy, you aren't living that long. Oh yeah, nah. King Boomy busted.
Hey, listen. I'm not even trying to fight for it. What's the point of all this aggression? Why we can't just understand one another? Yeah, I'm the Avatar, but that doesn't mean I have to fight you. Like, we can't just use our words to understand 100 years ago, but I'm 12 years old, bro. What do I look like taking the life of a grown man? Are y'all serious? Yo, Toph, remember how we told you to watch Appa? Where he at?
I got some bad news, but remember, this is your fault for making a blind person watch Appa, okay? He's gone.
I'm just saying this right now. Aang was a very nice, chill dude. I named a Build-A-Bear plushie Momo. Oh, that's cute. You'll tell me later? Okay, yeah, I'll be down to listen.
Excuse me?
Yeah, he's gone. Like some sandbenders kidnapped him type shit.
Aang,
are you alright?
No, I'm good. I'm calm. Everything all right. Throw your hands, Toph.
Whoa, what the fuck?
Throw your motherfucking hands up, Toph.
I watched this on my break at work today.
Bender, I'm the Avatar. Do you know how fast I will rip the air out your lungs, motherfucker?
The energy that he gave off when he found out that they stole Appa was pure. I'm ready to murder everything in this motherfucking building right now. Aang was on demon time. For those 5 fucking minutes.
And by other good guys, like the inventors with flying machines that set up shop in the abandoned Northern Air Temple. That one's extra cruel because it briefly gives Aang false hope that some airbenders did survive, and Aang's not too happy seeing his sacred temple stuffed full of machinery. And in the final conflict of the show, Aang struggles to find a way to defeat Fire Lord Ozai while upholding the central air nomad tenet of pacifism, a decision he gets flack for from every other main character, who would be immediately down to kill the dude that commands and represents the regime burning their homes and killing their loved ones. But it's a decision that carries a lot of meaning when it comes from Aang. Previous air nomad avatars could sacrifice their personal spiritual well-being to maintain balance in the world because there were other air nomads who could keep their practices alive. In search of the Avatar, Sozin slaughtered the air nomads in a conflict so quick and casual.
Think about it like this. If you forgot something, it will come back to you later. Either at the right time, a distant memory, a dream, or they'll slap you in the face because you forgot something important. One of the 3 things.
It's relegated to one line in his autobiography. The air nomads were gentle pacifists who practiced spiritual cultivation and valued joy, and who everyone indicates were pretty easy to kill. And if the Fire Nation's war had succeeded in taking all of those things away from Aang, they would have entirely succeeded in wiping out the air nomads in every way that mattered. Aang, the last airbender, had to find a way to defeat Ozai that didn't sacrifice the last remnants of the people and the culture he solely represented. So instead of just killing Ozai with a big anime attack and tacitly proving that the Fire Nation's actions might makes right motto was objectively correct, which would incidentally also imply that the other airbenders died because they were too wimpy to fight back, not because pacifism is a strength all on its own and them getting killed was a bad thing that happened to them, not a thing that they were at fault for. Aang opens himself up in horrible vulnerability that could absolutely unmake him if his spirit falters, and in an act of pacifism that could have easily killed him, he utterly strips away Ozai's power without abandoning the principles of the people that Ozai and his ancestors derided as weak. Aang is the Avatar, and he is also the last airbender, and in the ultimate moral victory of the show, he proves that he can be both. So, yeah.
Dun 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 dun. Sorry, I've gotten so used to just bopping my head to this fucking beat at the end. But please, everyone, the links will be in the description. Go support them, check them out, and if you don't, why? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Okay, just go check them out. They're cool. Red's cool. Blue's cool. Violet's cool. Magenta's cool. I don't remember if there's anyone else besides those four. But yeah, they're all cool people. Support them. Check them out. Do what you want to do. Yeah. Links will be in the description. My links are lower below that. One of them is for my socials. The other is for the membership if you want to see videos early. Bye. See ya. Pizza. Anyways, for all the people who are here, we're doing Cataclysmic Catacombs because I know at least 4 of you are definitely here for that reason.